Hello everyone, I am Sihid. Thank you for clicking this video. I'm very happy that you're here. For the past few months now, I've been reading this book in particular called Moon of the Crescent Snow by waubgeshig. It is one of the first Canadian literature books that I'm reading, and so it's been a really fun and enjoyable experience for me. And in particular, doing this series with you guys has been really meaningful. A great sort of journey for me, because I think it's a passion of mine to read, and being able to read on camera and having people sort of express their gratitude to me about my reading and the sort of summaries I do. It really does mean a lot. So thank you for all your comments, and thank you for joining me for this chapters series, and it's been really fun for me. Today I will be reading chapter 14. Before I read chapter 14, I want to sort of mention that if you're new to my channel and if it's your first time watching this video or watching any of my videos, I want you to please watch my previous chapter summaries and chapter videos, because they give you a bit more instinct and sort of an idea of how we got to the chapter that I'm reading today. But to give a brief summary, I've been reading about a small indigenous community within the northern Canada region known as the anishinaabe community. This community is very involved and highly committed to hunting, fishing, giving back. It's sort of their traditions, their custom, and within the small indigenous community, they happen to be facing a horrible state of emergency in which they have no power, and this is deeply affecting their lives, because now they have to make sudden changes that's affecting them negatively. They have to find ways to preserve energy because they don't have access to electricity. They no longer have no internet access. They have no way to watch TV. People attitudes are starting to be more on the anxious and sort of worried side. They're panicking. The community leaders are also feeling sort of helpless, and in the previous chapter that we read, we come to realize that it is not only happening within their community. Other communities are facing the same things, and in other communities like the one that's close to their community, Gibson, it's escalated to a point in which people are fleeing. We have 2 teenage boys who flee from their city to come back home to their community, the res, which is what they call their community, and so we have community leaders trying to tell them, these 2 teenage boys, not to sort of tell other people within their community what's happening in those 2 boys' community, and so they're trying to keep things at a point in which it doesn't escalate to a period in which people are starting to sort of fight one another. We start to see violence, because this happens when people deal with things like this, states of emergencies, because people become panic and worried, and they're trying to fight for supplies, trying to fight for food, because when there's no power, there's no way to preserve food, to find sources of food, and this leads to really leads to conflict and leads to bad things. So it's been really interesting reading about that, and being sort of being captivated by the motives and the attitudes of people during this horrible time. And so now I will read chapter 14, and yeah, thank you for being here. Chapter 14. Holy shit. Nicole collapsed into her chair and pressed her palms on the table. Is this for real? Even nodded. What are we going to do? He sighed. We have to stay calm, he said. Everyone is going to hear all about this pretty soon. We have to make sure things don't fall apart around here. Well, will we be okay? We have enough food, wood, gas, and other stuff to keep us going until spring. We'll be fine here at home. My parents will be fine. So will yours. What about Cam? What about some of the other people who aren't ready? We'll have to help them to make sure they stay warm and have food to eat. Jesus, winter has barely even started. What about the power? We'll have to talk about that tomorrow with council. There's only enough diesel to last until probably February at the latest. That's going at full power though. Luckily, most people have been conserving like we asked, but we can't count on that now. It feels like the end of this world. Nicole stared into the darkness out the window over Evan's shoulder. Don't panic. We'll figure this out. Look at us here in this house. We're always ready for this kind of thing. It's not us I'm worried about. Evan walked around to her side of the table and wrapped his arms around her. He bent down and kissed her cheek softly. She sniffed back tears and squeezed his arm. We'll be all right, he whispered. She pushed back from the table and embraced him. Her long black hair draped over his hands where he held her close. She let go and stepped back, leading him by the hand out of the kitchen. He turned off the light on the way out and followed her to the bedroom. Their love for each other had been with them since childhood, and they had been physical for nearly a decade. The only person each knew intimately was the other. They'd hardly even been apart. Nicole had left the reserve after high school to pursue a diploma in early childhood education in the city to the south. But 2 months in, she was homesick with few friends outside of kids from other First Nations. And she returned to Evan and their community for good the following spring. Nicole took off her clothes in the darkness and heard Evan's belt unbuckle and zipper came down on the other side of the bed. She climbed into bed, eager to feel the skin of her lover against hers. They embraced under the thick covers, taking refuge in their warm pocket of sanctuary from the dangerous outside chill. They stoked the fire that began between them all those years ago. And that is the end of chapter 14. I think that has to be like the shortest chapter I ever read. But let's briefly talk about it. So chapter 14 sort of continues with what I mentioned earlier about the story, the two teenage boys who were fleeing from Gibson after the crazy disaster that escalated due to the power outage. And I guess when Evan returned home, he told his wife, Nicole McLeod. Even White Sky, by the way, is one of the main characters who's been prevalent throughout this book. And he's a father of two. He's a very hardworking man. He's a maintenance staff who is part of the council, and he was with the people um, that were among the band council when these two young men were sharing the story. And so he sort of tells his wife, and she's deeply sort of worried about the people who have yet to know about this, and she's thinking about the fact that people are going to find out pretty soon about this story that these two young men told even in the other band council. And so she's worried, and she doesn't know how to sort of cope with this, and she sort of mentions about even brother and other people who might not be able to deal with this news when they do find out about it, and she's sort of fearful about things escalating, and even is just sort of there trying to calm her down and telling her that things will be fine, that in their house they've survived many things and they'll be able to survive this. And we have a little moment in which there's sort of both of them are sort of hugging each other, and even is trying to keep her sort of calm in a way by physically touching her and showing his affection. And we have a moment towards the end in which they get into bed, and they're all sort of on each other, and it kind of highlights that sort of sense of love that it's important to have within human connections, especially during times like this. It's important to know that someone is sort of there for you, because it really can lead to all these negative building up emotions that creates tension. But knowing that someone is there for you really sort of cools and sort of warms the soul. And so this chapter was a short but meaningful and important, I think an important part of the story that was worth having or including. And so yeah, thank you for watching this video. I know it was a short one, but I hope you join me in reading chapter 15, which will be a longer one. Thank you for watching this. I would appreciate if you kindly subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoy this video. Thank you. Bye.